Hey guys, welcome to day 2 of Inktober. This one went by a little faster than the other one, maybe because I didn't take any breaks. But anyways, so the official prompt for today is Tranquil. To continue on, I guess, the story that I had set up yesterday, they're just kind of crossing a tree trunk in the forest over a creek. And I figured, what's more peaceful than just walking around in the forest? So that's what I'm going with. Got the sketch layer all set up, so I'm just going in with the inking. I discovered that the brush I'm using, actually, it's not 100% opaque. It's a little transparent, and that's because the flow is set at 31%. I don't entirely understand what flow is. I think it's just how consistent is it, or maybe literally if you were painting, is the flow always 100% opaque or not of the brush stroke. But yeah, I discovered that, and for this one I decided to just keep it at the 30%, but maybe in the future I'll just pop it straight up to 100 so that I get like a crisp inking. Like I'm curious if that'll save me time, since maybe I won't have to go over it again. I don't know. But I kind of like the depth that the flow does give, because it's kind of like, you know, when you're drawing with a ballpoint pen, if you don't put as much pressure, it'll look lighter even though it is ink. So we'll see. Just, I guess, a mini discovery while I was drawing. So I'm just going in with just the basic inking, just so I can get out from using the sketch layer. While I was drawing this, lately, for whatever reason, I've been on a Shane Dawson kick, so I was watching a couple of Shane Dawson videos. For this one in particular, I was watching the one he did with Graveyard Girl. I know it's old, but like I'd already seen Jeffree Star and Tana Mojo, and I'm watching Jake Paul. His series on Jake Paul, and the Graveyard Girl was the most recent YouTube intervention video, I guess he did. So I was just watching that, and I remember I used to watch some of her stuff back in the day. So watched her most recent video too, where she was just going around at Walmart buying Halloween things, which was cool. But yeah, I don't know why. I'm not subscribed to Shane or anything, and like nothing against him. I just wasn't the biggest fan of his stuff. But recently, I really like his like docu-series stuff. So that's what I've been watching lately. I don't know, maybe I'm just on a documentary kick. But yeah. I actually really like how the piece looks right here. I'm not too sure how I feel about the finished piece, which you'll see in a few. I don't know, there's just some things with the line weight that I think I kind of screwed up on. But I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna send it out there and I can just drag myself in this video right now. So yeah, so I'm here. Again, I split things up into layers, but not as many layers, I guess. Like my midground background is kind of in the same layer, the trunk's on a separate layer, the two girls are on the same layer, and then everything in front of them is all on the same layer. And then I added like an extra layer later on, but yeah. So just using a thicker brush, drawing everything in the front thicker, and then I started doing my shading already here, and I like the look of like delineating like the contour of the shadow. I like how that works, but then I think what I ended up doing with it, I don't think I did a very good job at it. So here's something I can drag myself on. I ended up making this part in particular that I'm noodling around doesn't feel very defined for me. It doesn't stand out as much, and I realized that, and I thought to make it stand out more, I would just make it darker, but I still don't entirely think like those little hedges behind that second hill really stand out that much. I like how the transition from thick to thin in terms of depth-wise on the left-hand side more than I like it on the right-hand side. The right-hand side is like thick, and then ooh, thin, which I don't really like. And then here with the trees, so on contrast, the left-hand side tree, the shadowing, looking at it now, like it really flattens out the tree. So if you're watching this, Pro tip, and then honestly for me, I might go back and redo this later. I think for today I just wanted to get it done. But if I had just, for the left-hand tree in the very front, if I had just done those little diagonal lines going the other way, since the tree appears to be leaning towards the other way, I think it would have made the difference. But yeah, you want to make sure your hatching, I guess, for your shadows follows the form still. And I did not do a very good job at doing that here. So for this, I think I might have popped up my flow to 100% for them. Yeah, so you can see it's much darker here. It's just completely black, none of the opacity, and I just used that for the outline because I wanted them to pop because they're kind of the focal point, sort of. Like, they're two little characters in a scene and I don't want them to get too lost. So I knew that they needed to pop more. And just kind of carved out a little bit of white space around her so she wouldn't get too lost. And I signed my name, but then I was like, oh, I don't think I'm done yet. So what I ended up doing was coloring in, like adding more hatching to the stuff in the front to kind of show it as darker. Because remember, yesterday I had said stuff in the foreground is darker and more saturated than stuff in the background. So I'm trying to kind of get that going for this particular piece, just making the stuff in the foreground more dark, because certainly the stuff in the background looks much, much lighter. Like the line weight is thinner and all that. So I guess here we have the finished piece. Again, for the tree on the left-hand side, if I could just switch the direction of that hatching, it would be safe. Both of those trees on the left-hand side, to be honest. Because if you look at the trees on the right-hand side, all the hatching is like going in the direction of the tree. I'm like making this movement with my arm. So yeah, that I would change for both of those trees. And I really like the hatching shadow I did for the kind of the bank, I guess, directly underneath the tree trunk on the right-hand side. And I'm curious if maybe the deliberate contouring of the banks in the foreground isn't quite as successful. So there's just some stuff here that I played around with that I don't think turned out as great as I thought. I think the right-hand side, those two closest banks, the little shrubbery kind of gets lost a bit. And I feel like if I just made it much darker, it still kind of wouldn't pop. So maybe I should have colored that in more, maybe whatever. I'm not sure. I didn't want to flatten it, and I didn't want it to look unnatural, I guess, in terms of the transition to the line weight. But yeah. Ugh. Just looking at it, it's like, oh, I should change this. But I'm just going to leave it as it is. I mean, I know what I did wrong. I'll just keep it in mind for tomorrow. I'm just doing this kind of late anyways, and just wasn't very careful with my inking. So there's our lesson. Overall, though, something that I'm happy about is that it's like a complete scenery image. Like, I know I did that yesterday, but then doing it 2 days in a row, I don't often draw like complete scenic pieces. Usually it's like, oh, here's a head and a neck and some shoulders, and that's it. So I was pretty happy with this, and that, you know, I've always wanted to draw like two characters kind of in the background surrounded by scenery, and I think I at least accomplished that, even though the inking kind of flattened some stuff out. Ugh, I need to change that. Anyways, thanks for watching. Before I go crazy looking at this even more, let me know what you did for day 2 of Inktober, if you are doing Inktober. And let me know also what YouTuber you've lately been watching a lot of. Yeah, let me know in the comments below. And I'll see you guys tomorrow for day 3. Bye!